Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 48a, top of the page. With the words Par V'Sa'ir Shel Yom Kippurim, Kula. Mechtei Tzafon Be'ola Ketiv, Nitnei Ola V'Reisher. The Mishnah teaches with regard to the bull and the goat of Yom Kippur, their slaughters in the north and the collection of their blood in a service vessel is in the north. The Gemara asks, why does the Mishnah list these sin offerings first? After all, while the halacha that slaughter must be in the north of the temple courtyard is written in the Torah with regard to a burnt offering, Leviticus 1:11, the Torah does not explicitly state that the other offerings must be slaughtered in the north. Therefore, let the Tana of the Mishnah teach the halacha of a burnt offering first. The Gemara answers, since the location for slaughtering the sin offering is derived through interpretation, it is dear to the Tana, and therefore he gives it precedence. The verse states, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying," this is the law of the sin offering. "In the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, shall the sin offering be slaughtered before the Lord. It is most holy." Leviticus 6:18. The Gemara 55a derives Zevachim 55a derives from this verse that the sin offering must be slaughtered in the same place as the burnt offering, meaning in the north of the temple courtyard. The Gemara challenges, but let the Tana of the Mishnah teach first the halacha of the external sin offerings, since those are the offerings to which the verse is referring. The Gemara explains, since the blood of the Yom Kippur sin offerings enters the innermost sanctum, these offerings are dear to the Tana, and he taught them first. The Gemara asks, and where is it written that a burnt offering must be slaughtered in the north of the temple courtyard? The Gemara answers that with regard to a sheep that is brought as a burnt offering, the Torah states, "And he shall slaughter it on the side of the altar, northward, before the Lord. And Aaron's sons, the priests, shall dash its blood against the altar round about." Leviticus 1:11. Ashkachan ben son ben makar min alam amar kra ve'im min atzon vav mosif al inyan rishon ilvad elyon mitachton. The Gemara clarifies, we have found that this verse provides a source that a young sheep burnt offering must be slaughtered in the north. From where do we derive that a young bull burnt offering must also be slaughtered in the north? The Gemara answers, the verse states, "And if his offering be of the flock, whether of the sheep or of the goats, for burnt offering, he shall offer it a male without blemish." Leviticus 1:10. The conjunctive "and," represented by the letter Vav, adds to the previous matter. The previous passage addresses cattle offerings. "And let the upper passage, the place of the slaughter of a bull, be learned from the lower passage, the place of slaughtering a sheep." The Gemara comments, this works out well according to the one who says that we learn halachot in this manner, but according to the one who says that we do not learn halachot in this manner, what is there to say? Titania in Nefesh V'Goyno. Chayvos Hamin Lo Zoshem Taloi. Divrei Rabbi Akiva Cham Poitrin. My love V'Hakim Yiflegi. Ma'asav Lamdin. Ma'asav Em Lamdin. In Lamedin. As it is taught in Bright, immediately following the passage in the Torah, addressing a guilt offering for misuse of consecrated property, the Torah discusses the halachot of a provisional guilt offering brought by one who is uncertain as to whether he committed a sin that requires a sin offering. The verse states, "And if anyone sin and does any of the commandments which the Lord has commanded him not to be done, though he not know it, yet he is guilty, and he shall bear his iniquity." Leviticus 5:17. This serves to render him liable to bring a provisional guilt offering for uncertain misuse of consecrated property. This is the statement of Rabbi Akiva, and the rabbis deem an example in such a case. The Gemara suggests, what? Is it not that they disagree with regard to this? One sage, Rabbi Akiva, holds that we learn halachot of the upper passage from the lower passage. And the other sage, meaning the rabbis, holds that we do not learn halachot in this manner. Amar Rav Papa, Rav Papa said, this is not correct, as everyone holds that we learn halachot of the upper passage and lower passage. And this is the reason that the rabbis exempt from bringing an offering who is uncertain whether he misused consecrated property. They learn from a verbal analogy. It is stated here, "And if anyone sin and does any of the commandments which the Lord had commanded not to be done," Leviticus 5:17, and that is stated with regard to the sin offering for eating forbidden fat. "And if any one of the common people sin through error in doing any of the commandments which the Lord has commanded not to be done and be guilty," Leviticus 4:27. The verbal analogy teaches that, just as there, the sin offering is brought only for an act that, for its intentional violation, one is liable to be punished with karet. For its unwitting violation, one is liable to bring a sin offering. So too here, one brings a provisional guilt offering only for an act that, for its intentional violation, one is liable to be punished with karet, and for its unwitting violation, one is liable to bring a sin offering, which is not the case concerning misuse of consecrated property. Rabbi Akiva, Maran Mikvuah, Afkan Mikvuah, and Voiraz, it was Mikdash, Gedashav, Te Oila, Viored, the Gemara asks, and what does Rabbi Akiva derive from this verbal analogy? He learns that, just as there, the verse obligates one to bring a fixed sin offering, so to here, with regard to the provisional guilt offering, one brings it for a case of uncertain transgression of a prohibition, for which one would be liable to bring a fixed sin offering, to exclude a sin offering brought for uncertain transgression of the defiling of the temple or sacrificial foods, as the sin offering for that transgression is not fixed, but is a sliding scale offering. Slide. If the sinner is poor, he brings a meal offering or a burnt offering. And if he is rich, he brings an animal offering. In a case of uncertainty, one does not bring a provisional guilt offering. As for the rabbis, who derive the different halacha from the verbal analogy, they hold that there is no verbal analogy for half a matter. Once a provisional guilt offering is compared to a sin offering, it must be completely similar, and both matters are derived from the verbal analogy. The Gemara asks, but Rabbi Akiva also must hold that there is no verbal analogy for half a matter, so why does he not agree with the derivation of the rabbis? Einachanami. Yes, indeed, this is so. Rabbi Akiva Sava Nefesh Ketiv Mosif Rishon. The Gemara reconsiders. Yes, this is indeed so. Yeah, you're right. And here they disagree with regard to this. Rabbi Akiva holds that it is written with regard to the provisional guilt offering, and if anyone sin and does any of the commandments which the Lord has commanded not to be done, though he did not know it, yet he is guilty and shall bear his iniquity, Leviticus 5:17. The word "and," represented by the letter "vav," adds to the previous matter. When a phrase begins with the conjunction "vav," it is a continuation of the previous matter. And the halachot of the previous passage can be learned from the subsequent passage. Therefore, one brings a provisional guilt offering for uncertain misuse of consecrated property. The Gemara asks, but according to the opinion of the rabbis, also is it written, and if anyone sin, let us say that they disagree about this. As one stage, Rabbi Akiva holds that derivation of juxtaposition is preferable, and that eyes from the juxtaposition of halachos and misuse of consecrated property to the halachot of a provisional guilt offering, that one is liable to bring a provisional guilt offering if he is not uncertain whether he misused consecrated property. And one sage, meaning the rabbis, holds that a derivation of a verbal analogy is preferable, and therefore derived from a verbal analogy between the passage of misuse of consecrated property and the passage of a sin offering for eating forbidden fat, that one is not liable to bring a provisional guilt offering if he is not certain whether he misused consecrated property. Lo kuli alma dehekesh adif shiamilach labanan tachton hu digamar be'elion. The Gemara rejects this. No, it may be that everyone agrees that a derivation from a juxtaposition is preferable, and the rabbis would say to you that the reason one is exempt from bringing a provisional guilt offering in a case of uncertain misuse of consecrated property is that the juxtaposition should be understood as in the opposite manner. It is the lower passage that is derived from the upper passage. Liasham, 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 liasham. בכסף שקלים, שלא תאמר לא יהיה ספק או חמור בוודאי, מה בדחת הסבאז דנקה, אף ספק או אשם בר דנקה. The juxtaposition teaches that a provisional guilt offering must be a ram worth a minimum of 2 silver shekels, as is the halacha with regard to the offering brought from misuse of consecrated property. This derivation is needed so that you should not say that a provisional guilt offering brought for his uncertain transgression should not be more stringent than the offering one brings in a case of his definite transgression. According to that claim, one would say that just as for his definite transgression one may bring a sin offering worth only 1/6 a danka of a dinner, so too for his uncertain transgression one may bring a provisional guilt offering worth only 1/6 of a dinar. The Gemara asks, and from where does Rabbi Akiva derive this conclusion? The Gemara answers, he derives it from the verse that states, and this is the law of the guilt offering, Leviticus 7:1, which teaches that there is one law for all of the guilt offerings, and they must all be worth at least 2 shekels, provisional guilt offerings included. Tinach mandis leitoiras mandeles leitoiras bechama kama. The Gemara asks, this works out well according to the one who holds that there is a derivation from the word law, but according to the one who does not hold that there is a derivation from the word law, from where does he learn that all guilt offerings must have the same minimum value? The Gemara answers, he learns it from a verbal analogy between the term according to your valuation, stated with regard to a guilt offering for misuse of consecrated property, Leviticus 5:15, and the term according to your valuation, according to your salvation, and the term according to your valuation stated with regard to provisional guilt offering, Leviticus 5:18, and a guilt offering for robbery, Leviticus 5:25. Tina, the Gemara asks, this works out well concerning guilt offerings where it is written according to your valuation, but with regard to a guilt offering brought for engaging in sexual intercourse with an espoused maidservant, concerning which it is not written in the Torah according to your valuation, what is there to say? Hey, how does one derive the guilt offering brought for engaging in sexual intercourse with an espoused maidservant must be worth a minimum of 2 silver shekels? Gamar be'el. The Gemara answers that it is derived from a verbal analogy between the term with the ram, stated with regard to a guilt offering for misuse of consecrated property, Leviticus 5:16, and the term with the ram is stated with regard to a guilt offering for engaging in ramming. Get it? Ramming? The spouse maidservant. For engaging in sexual intercourse with the spouse maidservant. Leviticus 19:22. Chazas ben Alan de Bai Zafon Nichsiv. The Gemara returns to discuss the Mishnah. From where do we derive that a sin offering requires slaughter in the north of the temple courtyard? The Gemara answers, as it is written with regard to an individual sin offering, and he shall place his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slaughter the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering, Leviticus 4:29. Just as the burnt offering must be slaughtered in the north of the temple courtyard, so too a sin offering must be slaughtered in the north. Ashkachan shchita kabbalam minalan nichtiv v'logagoy midam hachatan. The Gemara asks, we found from this verse that the slaughter must be in the north, from where we derive the collection, the blood must be also in the north. The Gemara answers, as is written, and the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and place it upon the corners of the altar of the burnt offering, and all its remaining blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar. Leviticus 4:34. As this immediately follows the verse discussing the slaughter of a sin offering, evidently the taking of the blood is performed in the same place as the slaughter. Lo yikach. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that the one collecting the blood must himself stand in the north of the temple courtyard? Perhaps he may stand near the north and extend his arm to collect the blood. The Gemara answers, as the verse states, and the priest shall take, Belakach, Leviticus 4:34, which can be read as he will take himself, Lo yikach. Ashkachan mitzvah, ve'akabinayin, kerach nekativ, v'shachat oto b'makom asher yishchat es ha'ula, v'tanya hechen ola nishchetet, v'tzafon al zeh v'tzafon. The Gemara asks, we have found that the offering must be slaughtered in the north and the blood collected in the north to perform the mitzvah in the optimal manner. From where is it derived that one slaughters the offering or collects the blood anywhere else, the offering is disqualified? The Gemara answers, It is written in another verse which speaks of a goat, sin offering brought by a king who sins, and he shall place his hand upon the head of the goat and slaughter it in the place where they slaughter the burnt offering before the Lord. It is a sin offering, Leviticus 4:24, and it is taught in Braita. Where is the burnt offering slaughtered? In the north. This sin offering of a king must also be slaughtered in the north of the temple courtyard.